What's up, guys and gals? It's your humble liberty-minded individual, Chuck Burns for USA. You know, here at my house in California, we have a building inspector who's got a hair up his ass. And let me tell you something, it's kind of crazy, this guy. He's out there, he's insane. Thing is, they want permits for work we've done on the property, and we haven't filed them because, frankly, we've barely had the money, and it's, tough to get the work done on the house, just to have the materials. And paying for a permit, is money that I'd see better spent in the house. And frankly, I don't think they have a right to tell you that you can't maintain your property without their permission. I mean, so I can't fix the plumbing in my house without the city's permission? You're kidding me, right? Think about how ridiculous that is. This guy said to me, though, I actually talked to him kindly for the first time ever, seeing if I could break through to him on a human level. If I could talk to this dude, like man to man. And be like, oh, what do you think you're doing here? I mean, like, what are you trying to accomplish? And what like moral ground do you stand on as a city code enforcement officer, telling people that you're going to use force basically down the barrel of a gun, which is what it comes down to? Because if they cite you and fine you for not getting a permit because you don't want to pay for it, and then they take you to court, you say I'm not paying, they put a lien, you don't pay it, then eventually they come take your house, and they do that with what? A sheriff with a gun, And yeah, he may pull his taser gun out, baton, but if you try to stop him aggressively enough, he may pull his gun out. And either way, it's force, and depending on the degree, that includes the barrel of a gun. And this guy, he told me, I said, don't you think people have a right to do what they want with their property as long as I don't use it to go damage yours or hurt you? And what he said to me, he's all, you have a right to property and to do with you what you like with it as long as society deems it acceptable. I was sitting there looking at this man who's a code enforcement officer who our tax dollars pay, and I was thinking to myself, if Thomas Jefferson or George Washington was sitting here listening to this conversation with this clown with me right then and there at that point in time, they would have smacked the shit out of this dude. They would have pulled the pan pan out, some baby powder on that thing, and gone and just knocked his head in circles. You see, there's a reason. He said, well, we're a democracy. And there's a reason that we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, right? Because democracy is what? Think hard. It's mob rule. Because if 51 can tell 49 what to do, it's not about the right of the individual. It's about the collective. It's about the mob. And our founders knew that. And that's why we're a constitutional republic and not a democracy. When you hear in the news, they go, we're a democracy. Say, where's their history teacher? Who screwed that one up? But we hear it everywhere, don't we? This guy says that we have the right to do what we want with property. Doesn't matter if we're not harming anybody or not damaging their person or property, but we only have the right to do what we want with it within what's the scope of what society allows. Fuck the individual. Forget that. That's old school. We don't talk about individuals anymore. You're part of the herd. Welcome, sheep. I just looked at this guy astounded. This is the public servant that serves in my town, code enforcement wise. He's paid by our tax dollars. He's supposed to be serving us. But really, we have to comply with him. Think about the preposterousness of that real quick. Just the preposterousness. That we have a right to property as long as our neighbors approve of what we do with it, regardless of whether or not it affects their property and damages it or not. Hell, you could tell me what windows to put in my house because y'all didn't like them. Right? That's clown stuff. It just astounded me to hear somebody say that. I wanted to share that with all of you. Because you see, that's the attitude we find in cops too. Because one thing he said was, I'm doing my job. I'm enforcing the code. What do cops say? I'm following the law. I'm just doing my job. And you're not thinking. You're not engaging your brain in what we call rational thought, which Ayn Rand, by the way, said, if you're familiar with her, said was one of our pretty much our highest obligations as human beings, to use our minds, to think rationally. Because she further logicked that out to say, to engage in irrational thought is to deny the mind. And really, this is my quote, allowing irrational thought to exist is a lethal pretense for any society to engage in. Because when you don't use logic and rational thinking, what do you do? What are you doing? You're doing what's not good for you as a whole. Because see, he may not be bothered about what he's doing to me out there, that code enforcement officer. But if he can infringe on my freedoms today, he can infringe on all of ours at some future time. That's irrational, because in reality, what is he doing? He's harming his own freedom down the road, his kids, his grandkids' freedom, by pushing on mine right now. Because he's not feeling it right now, because he's doing what they want with his house. He paid for his permits, even though he shouldn't have to, and he should be able to save that money and put it in his pocket. But he's doing that. It's not bothering him right now. But see, eventually, everybody comes to a point, just as government grows, where they've stepped into your circle. And now you're the one on the short end of the stick. And the guy you're looking at is going to say to you what? I'm just enforcing the law. I'm just doing my job. Poor fool. Stand up to your building inspectors. Stand up to your city. Go to your city council and say you have no right. You have zero. Say it to your DMV. Say it to your state DMV. Say, I'm going to pay you for a license. I have a right to move freely from point A to point B. And how I do it is my choice. And if I so happen to choose to use my property, a car, a vehicle to do it, unless I'm engaging in commerce, like I'm driving a semi-truck on the road for profit, that's different. You need a license for that, because now you're exploiting it for monetary gain. You're not just a citizen using it. But if you're just a person traveling from point A to point B, and that includes going to work in the morning, you don't need, that's not commercial. If you're contracted driving a truck to work, that does not count as commercial. You're going to work. You get paid when you get there, not on the road. You don't need a license. You can travel freely. You have that right. And just because you chose to use a piece of property you own in the process does not mean they have a right to tell you that they can regulate that. Think about it. That's ex post facto law. It's making what was legal one day illegal the next. California, that's even the reasoning they use. When you look at the California driver's license laws, it says, well, driving without a license is now unsafe because you don't have a license. But it was safe before you passed that law the day before for me driving without one. Now all of a sudden it's not safe because I don't have one, just because you said I need to get one? That is not even... Thought B does not even follow thought A. In fact, it's like here's thought Z where they came up with that, and thought A over here, the beginning of the logical argument, is over there in the other end of the alphabet, and all those little connecting points in between B, C, D, E, F, G are missing because they couldn't get to Z from A with what they're saying. Your property is yours. Why do you have to pay the government every year a fee to own it? Talk about your registration on your car. Now your property taxes, I can see some justification to that. There's infrastructure that you benefit from. Granted, I think it should probably be worked into the water bill, the sewage bill, and all that other stuff so that it's included in that. But it kind of doesn't always work out that way. So I think that maybe privately run, libertarian style, not big government owned, competition would probably make it go be better, cheaper, and we could probably get rid of property tax. Point being, though, what I'm saying is that these guys are clowns that we don't need. You don't have to pay for permits to work on your own property, maintain your house. You don't have to pay for the right to move yourself from point A to point B just because you chose to use a piece of property that you paid for and they didn't help you get. And you don't have to pay for the right to own it every year. And what you do with your property is not dependent upon what society thinks. It's dependent upon you just not hurting anybody else with it. And if you don't do that, They have no right whatsoever. That's the corpus delicti, the body of the crime. Body of the crime, what damage did I do to my neighbor's property or person? None? Then there's no valid claim in this court. That inspector came to my house the other day, code enforcement punk. Somebody used to hit him upside the head with the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. Maybe we got to dig up Jefferson's hand and just slap him with that Skeletor hand, because maybe he'll feel the divine power of what those men wrote. Chuck Burns for the USA. Just felt like I had to break some truth off. Because damn, I wanted to break some truth off in that ass. But you know, that's stupid because then I go to jail. I couldn't make this little video. And you'd all be the lesser for it, you know? I mean, fuck. So peace out, guys. Remember, freedom ain't free. Sometimes you gotta tell clowns off. And sometimes it's difficult and hard and you gotta make a point. They're gonna try to cite you, give you tickets, they're gonna take your car. Don't take the easy way, just comply with them because it's the simple thing. Stand for what's right. If enough of us do it, they can't stop us. To fear your government, remember, is tyranny. If your government fears you, that's liberty, baby.